The main technique in this video is mostly unknown. At the very least, it is hardly ever talked about in motocross by riders and even riding coaches. It is more popular in road racing and mountain biking. Yet in motocross, you're using it all the time. But are you using it correctly? I have found through my many motocross schools that 95% of riders are not aware of it and therefore not using it correctly. This technique deals with how you steer the front wheel. The details of this elusive skill are how you steer with your hands, arms, and upper body, starting with the handle grips. I have touched on this specific technique in a few of my newer videos, but I feel that front wheel steering is so critical that it deserves a special video. So I'm going to break it down and show each of these special techniques. These steering skills are used whenever you want the rear wheel to follow the front wheel, most commonly in rutted corners. You also learn how to practice them in order to make them become natural and automatic. So let's get started with the mechanics, so to speak, that go into controlling the bike's direction with the front wheel. Note that steering with the rear wheel uses very different techniques that are covered in many of my other videos. Number 1. A motorcycle turns way more with the lean opposed to actually turning the handlebars. Obviously, a four-wheeler turns with the handlebars, not the amount of lean. Of course, you have to constantly balance a dirt bike. The slower you go, the more you have to balance it. If you're going too slow, it could fall over. The faster you go, the easier it is for the bike to stay upright. This is due to the gyro effects of all the spinning forces. More on this later. I realize that all of this is pretty obvious, but stay with me, it gets better, I promise. With motorcycles, the gyro effects are a huge influence in the way it steers. Number 2, controlling the lean of the bike when sitting while entering and going through a rutted corner. Of course, this means that you will have good traction in the rut. Anytime that you begin the corner, you have to begin to lean the bike. The amount of lean depends on the corner and your speed. To control the lean in a rut, you should be sitting on the front, middle, or slightly on the high side of the seat. Even though most of your steering will be done with the lean of the bike, steering on the handlebars is still very effective. All of this steering should be done with the inside handlebar, not the outside handlebar or arm. Once the bike is at the desired lean angle for the corner and speed, it will stay at that lean angle pretty much on its own, as long as you continue to control the proper speed. If you want the bike to turn more, you simply would put pressure straight down on the inside handle grip. This amount of pressure is so slight that you could usually put enough pressure down with your little finger. If you want it to turn slightly less, you would stop putting pressure on the inside grip. Then if you want it to turn a lot less, you would touch your inside foot on the ground in order to lift the bike out of the lean angle the desired amount. Now you would think that pushing forward on the outside handlebar would also make the bike turn more to the inside, the same way the bike is leaning. That makes sense, right? But it does the exact opposite. Putting pressure down and or forward on the outside handle grip actually makes the bike turn to the outside. That's the opposite way that you want it to turn. You may think, okay, well, what if I push forward and down on the outside handle grip and pull back on the inside handle grip? Nice try, but it will still turn to the outside. Now that would work if you were already leaning pretty far, but it will still do the opposite if you're not already leaning. It's just not necessary to push forward or down on the outside handle grip to steer the front wheel. It does way more harm than good. More on this later. Feeling is believing. While riding your dirt bike in a flat open field, give it the steering test. We'll begin with sitting. Position yourself like explained earlier. If you want the bike to turn to the left, put a little pressure straight down on the inside handle grip, the left grip. Like magic, it takes very little effort for it to answer your command. Now try to turn to the left by pushing forward on the outside handle grip, the right handle grip. Your dirt bike does not understand that language, and it will actually turn to the right. Now make the bike actually lean to the left and do the same. Even with the bike already leaning to the left, it still wants to go right when you push forward and or down on the outside right handle grip. Speak in the same language and it will obey immediately every time. Remember, when the bike is already leaning a good bit and you pull back on the inside grip and push forward on the outside handle grip, it will turn more to the inside. But using the outside grip to push forward isn't necessary, as the inside grip does it more effectively without the help of the outside grip. Number 3, front wheel steering while standing. Okay, how about while standing? It's the same language, but now the foot pegs in your hips are also involved. To begin leaning the bike while standing, shift your hips to the inside as you keep your knees tight against the sides of the bike. Weight the inside foot peg quite a bit more than the outside foot peg. How you steer with the handlebars is the same as when you were sitting. Give these standing techniques the field test. Let's use turning to the right this time, as it's the same whether you are turning to the left or right. From equal pressure on both foot pegs, apply more pressure on the right foot peg. Then do the same with a little more pressure on the right handle grip. It turns to the right instantly and easily, doesn't it? Of course, if you don't do this correctly, the opposite is true, as shown while sitting. Number 4, understanding the gyro effects while steering with the front wheel. All the spinning forces of the motorcycle have a straightening effect. These spinning gyro effects are from the wheels, crank, piston, rod, flywheel, and clutch. The faster these components are spinning, the more gyro effects they produce. One example is that it's easier to control the lean of a 125 than it is a 250. Of course, a 450 is even more of a difference. This is not only because of the overall weight difference, but also because of the bigger, heavier spinning parts on the 250 and 450. Practice methods in order to make these front wheel steering skills run on autopilot. Like learning any new skill, break it down and stay mindful of each technique one at a time. The best ways to begin learning these steering techniques is in an open field, just like the example I used to show you how these techniques work and don't work. Experiment with each one separately as you ride straight down the field. Once you get used to that, try putting all of these techniques together while riding straight down the field. Another good practice strategy is to do these sitting and standing turning skills to the left, then to the right, then left, as you zigzag down the field, both standing and sitting. I suggest doing the circle drill next. Start out with no ruts, as ruts would make it more difficult to start getting used to these new techniques. Practice both sitting and standing. Practice controlling and changing the lean of the bike. Use all of the techniques that we have covered. And remember, at first, stay mindful of one technique at a time. Once you're getting the hang of it, you can start using a rutted circuit drill. These techniques are listed at the end of this video. feel that you can do all of these techniques correctly, then you should continue developing them on an oval, figure eight, turn track, and even repeating the old circle drill. During this time, you can practice them on sections of the track and even the entire track, but never totally quit doing these practice drills completely. Keep developing the ultimate motocross riding experience when the rider and motorcycle become one.